Have you ever felt stuck in a routine that drains your energy and time, keeping you far from the life you desire? You find yourself repeatedly caught in those harmful habits that, even though they seem small, can sabotage your dreams without you even realizing it. Do you ever feel like a hamster endlessly running on its wheel, exhausted and directionless, running so much but never getting anywhere? But what if I told you that you have the power to eliminate those harmful habits right now and take the first step toward a complete transformation? Ah, my friend, I know how you feel, but that ends here. In this video, you'll discover 10 habits that might be sabotaging your life without you even realizing it, and how you can eliminate them starting today. Don't worry, you don't need to make massive sacrifices or radical changes, just strategic decisions that will help you leave behind what holds you back and move forward toward a fuller, freer version of yourself. Inspired by Stoic wisdom, these habits will reconnect you with what truly matters and help you live with greater purpose and serenity. Are you ready to let go of what's dragging you down and make space for real change? Let's dive in. But first, let me tell you the story of someone who managed to eliminate the bad habits from his life. Once upon a time, there was a young man named Aaron Kraskal, known around the world for his humorous videos and pranks that brought laughter to millions of people. But behind the cameras and the success, Aaron carried an invisible weight, a silent battle that few knew about, his struggle with alcoholism. Every night, after making others laugh, Aaron found himself alone, trapped in a cycle that seemed impossible to break. Alcohol had become his refuge, a habit that tied him down and pulled him away from the person he truly wanted to be. One day, everything changed. Aaron woke up, not just with a hangover from another night of excess, but with a soul-crushing sense of emptiness. He looked around and for the first time realized he was losing the most valuable things: his time, his health, and most importantly, his connection to the life he dreamed of having. How heartbreaking it must be to wake up and realize that everything precious is slipping away. Can you imagine that? At that moment, he decided it was time to break free from the habit that was destroying him, and it wasn't easy. With the determination of a warrior and the support of those who truly cared about him, Aaron began his journey to sobriety. He learned to observe his impulses and face them with courage, to replace his old habits with small practices that strengthened his mind and body. Gradually, day by day, Aaron transformed his pain into purpose, and the laughter that once hid his suffering became a true expression of joy. Today, Aaron has not only reclaimed his life, but has also inspired many others to believe in the possibility of a new beginning. What an incredible transformation! Doesn't it inspire you to think about everything you could change in your own life? His story reminds us that, even though bad habits might seem insurmountable, there's always a chance to leave behind what binds us and step into a life that is freer and more purposeful. And you? Do you feel trapped in your own negative habits? Can you imagine how your life would change if, like Aaron, you could turn them into something positive? Never underestimate the power of small changes. Let's start this journey together. 1. Silence your inner critic. Why even bother trying? You're not good enough. Who do you think you are to believe you'll make it? Sound familiar? That's your inner critic, the voice that shows up at the worst moments, whispering doubts and limitations. Ugh, it's exhausting. It drains your energy and leaves you feeling too defeated to fight for what you really want. But listen, my friend, we all have that voice. No matter how confident we may seem on the outside, that critic is always lurking, waiting for any chance to tear us down. But you know what? It's a habit we can eliminate from our lives. Because letting that voice control us is what truly keeps us stuck. Many people think being stoic means feeling nothing, as if emotions just stop existing. But that's not true. Being stoic is actually about taking control of our emotions and thoughts, instead of being dragged around by them. It's about being the captain of our mind, guiding each reaction with wisdom and calm. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor, on the verge of making a crucial decision, saying to himself, "Do you really think you can handle this? You're not up to the task." what would happen? He'd be paralyzed by fear and unable to lead his empire. But lucky for him, and for us, Marcus Aurelius didn't listen to that voice. Instead, he reflected, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Yes, that's what he said, Marcus Aurelius himself. What does it mean? It means we get to decide how we interpret and respond to our inner dialogue. Now, picture this. You're about to present an important project to your bank, hoping for funding. It's something you've spent weeks, even months, preparing with all your effort and dedication. But right when the moment comes, that inner voice starts shouting, "You're going to fail. You're not good enough. No one will take you seriously." You feel a cold sweat on your palms, your heart pounding so hard it feels like everyone can hear it, and your legs trembling like they're about to give out. You look at the bank managers and everything inside you screams to leave before you embarrass yourself. But what if, instead of listening to that voice, you could rewrite the script? What if, in that moment of panic, you had the power to silence the critic and reclaim your confidence? Let's see how to do it. First, challenge that voice. When it shows up with its harsh judgments, ask yourself, is this true? More often than not, our inner critic exaggerates. For instance, if you think, "I always fail at everything," stop and analyze, do you really fail at everything? Surely not. Replace it with something more realistic, like, "I've failed before, but I've also achieved great things when I've worked hard." Trust me, that shift in perspective is more powerful than it seems. Second, change the narrative. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, think about what you can learn. The next time your critic says, "You're not enough," respond with, "I'm learning, and each attempt brings me closer to where I want to be." It's a process, not a destination. The Stoics practiced this constantly. Seneca put it brilliantly. "A brave man is not one who defeats his enemies, but one who overcomes himself." Third, talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend. Think of someone you care about deeply, someone you always want to see succeed. Would you speak to them with the same harsh tone you use on yourself? Of course not. The next time you fail or feel insecure, imagine you're giving advice to your best friend. Use words of support and encouragement. Say things like, "It's okay to make mistakes. I'm here for you." It may seem simple, but this mental shift can transform how you feel. Now, reflect. Do you want to keep listening to that critic that makes you doubt your dreams? Or do you want to start changing that narrative and achieve everything you set your mind to? The choice is yours. Eliminate that destructive habit right now. And remember, every step you take in the right direction, no matter how small, is a step toward a freer, fuller life. 2. Break the approval chain. How many times have you found yourself making decisions just to please others? Maybe you agreed to plans you didn't want, just because you feared being judged, or you bit your tongue in a conversation to avoid upsetting someone. Let's be honest, my friend. Living to seek others' approval is exhausting. It traps you in an invisible cage and keeps you from the life you truly want to live. After everything you fought for and overcome, do you still believe you need to prove your worth to everyone? Spoiler, you don't. Seeking external validation is a habit we must eliminate now if we want to be authentic and free. Think about this. Why do we give so much power to others' opinions when we know we'll never be able to control what they think? That's the key, control. Epictetus made it clear centuries ago, don't worry about things outside your control. And guess what? Other people's opinions have never been within your control. The problem is this habit, although it seems harmless, acts like an anchor that keeps us trapped in the harbor, preventing us from sailing toward where we truly want to go. According to a study by ancientphilosophy, constantly seeking approval turns us into puppets, controlled by strings that others pull. It affects our self-esteem and stops us from making decisions that reflect who we really are. Because if we always need others to validate our choices, when will we ever live authentically? The study shows that once we lift that anchor, we gain clarity. Can you imagine how freeing it would be to set sail without needing anyone's approval? So, how can we break the approval chain? First, learn to say no without guilt. Yes, it's tough, I know. But think about all the times you've said yes just to avoid someone's disappointment or judgment. You might feel good in the moment, but later, you regret it. Next time someone asks you for something, ask yourself, does this benefit me or drain me? If it doesn't add anything positive, say no firmly and kindly. I'm sorry, but I can't. Trust me, you'll learn that saying no is an act of self-respect. Second, make a list of your values. What really matters to you? It could be honesty, freedom, or even time with your family. Knowing your values helps guide your decisions. When you feel tempted to seek someone's approval, ask yourself, does this choice align with my values? If the answer is no, adjust your course. Living by your principles will give you the confidence you're looking for. Lastly, be compassionate with yourself. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. The next time you're overly concerned about what others think, remember that they mess up too. Treat yourself with the same understanding. This will not only make you feel better, but remind you that your worth isn't determined by others' opinions. So tell me, are you going to keep letting the need for approval control your decisions? Or are you ready to break free and start living the life you choose? I'd love to know what you think. If this resonated with you, share it in the comments. I'm breaking the chain. Let it be our rallying cry, a reminder that each of us has the power to be authentic without needing anyone else's validation. Before we dive into the next lesson, if you find value in this content, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell us which habit you are going to eliminate first, or just type Stoic at heart to join the community. Together, we'll turn this space into a place for shared growth. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on more inspiring content. Your support means the world and helps keep this message going. 3. Run your own race. Let me tell you the story of a young boy who faced more challenges than most could imagine. In school, his teachers saw him as restless, struggling to focus. But there was one place where he found peace: the water. Every morning before the sun rose, he would dive into the pool with one goal: not to beat anyone else, but to be better than the boy who swam there the day before. He didn't pay attention to others' scores or compare himself. He simply focused on his own progress, perfecting each stroke and every breath. Years later, this young boy became Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympic swimmer in history, with 23 gold medals. His secret wasn't about beating others, but beating the version of himself from the day before. If he could achieve so much by focusing on his own growth, what could we achieve if we stopped comparing ourselves and started improving day by day? We all do it. We look at what others have, at what they've accomplished, and suddenly everything we've done feels insignificant. It's a destructive habit that drains our energy, steals our joy, and makes us lose sight of our own path. If we keep measuring our success by someone else's standards, we'll never feel good enough. Why? Because there will always be someone who seems to have more, do more, or be more. It's exhausting, isn't it? Progress isn't fast, but it's steady when you commit to what you can control. That's what the Stoics taught us. The only things we can control are our effort, our dedication, and how we improve each day. Because the real competition is with ourselves. That's what truly matters. Picture this. You're scrolling through social media and you see an old classmate posting pictures of a dream vacation. Then someone else shares an impressive professional achievement. Suddenly you feel small. You ask yourself, why am I not that happy, that successful, that perfect? It destroys you. You forget how much you've grown, the challenges you've overcome, and focus only on what you're lacking. So, how can we break that cycle and focus on our own progress? First, disconnect from digital comparisons. Social media is the perfect place to fuel envy. If you notice that certain profiles make you feel bad about yourself, unfollow them or limit your time on those platforms. Use that time to do something that brings you joy, like making progress on a personal project. Ask yourself, does this help me become better, or does it just make me feel worse? Second, Make a list of your personal achievements. It's easy to forget how far we've come when we're always looking forward. Take a moment to write down what you've accomplished in the past months or years. Maybe you got a promotion, learned a new skill, or simply overcame a difficult challenge. Keep that list somewhere visible. It will remind you that your progress matters, even if it isn't as flashy as someone else's. The key is to remember that your path is unique. By letting go of comparisons and focusing on your own progress, you'll find peace and fulfillment. Can you imagine how freeing it would be to live without that burden? Eliminating this habit will give you the chance to become the best version of yourself, in your way and in your time. My friend, the most important race is the one you run with yourself. Every step you take forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to a more authentic and fulfilling life. So tell me, are you ready to stop looking to the side and start enjoying your own journey? 4. Stop putting life off. Act today, not tomorrow. Putting things off is like having a garden full of seeds that you never plant. The ideas and dreams are there, but if we don't sow them, we'll never see anything grow. They just stay trapped in our minds, waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. But that moment won't appear on its own, and it's time to change that. Now is the time to act. As Seneca once said, it's not that we have a short time, but that we waste a lot of it. And he was right. Every second we let slip away is a second we'll never get back. So what can we do to change this story? Act today, not tomorrow. Because time is our most valuable resource. Do you want a life that's full, free, and peaceful? Stop waiting for the perfect moment to start and make the most of the present. Seneca teaches us that doing something small now is better than waiting to have everything under control. Let's think about what the great motivational speaker Victor Coopers says. It's not about doing enormous and spectacular things. It's about starting with small steps, but with determination. Because if we keep putting things off, the habit of procrastination only takes deeper root. It's like a weed that chokes our potential and keeps us from growing. Imagine facing a task so big it seems impossible. It's normal for your mind to want to run away and leave it for tomorrow, right? But here's the point. If we don't eliminate that habit now, that tomorrow will never come. As Coopers reminds us, even the smallest spark can ignite a fire that transforms everything around it. Picture this. It's Saturday morning, and you have a to-do list. Maybe it's something important like working on that project you've been putting off for weeks, or maybe it's just tidying up your space to feel more at peace. But instead of starting, you pick up your phone and tell yourself, just 5 minutes to relax. You watch one video, then another, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed. You feel guilty, stressed, and that to-do list is still there, staring at you from your desk. So how do you break that cycle of procrastination and start taking action? First, set a 5-minute task. Have a project pending? Work on it for just 5 minutes, nothing more. Often the hardest part is getting started. Once you do, you'll find that continuing is much easier. For example, if you need to write a report, open the document and start with one sentence. That small action breaks the inertia. Second, use the do it now rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it right away. Is there an email you need to respond to or a dish to wash? Do it now. This habit will keep you on top of the little things and reduce mental clutter. Let's be honest, those quick tasks we leave for later only pile up and overwhelm us more. Third, create a morning ritual for momentum. Start your day with something that energizes you, like a brisk walk or a few minutes of inspiring reading. This primes your mind for action and fights off morning laziness. Finally, set a reward. Give meaning to the tasks you complete by offering yourself something at the end. Finish that work and treat yourself to a peaceful coffee break or watch your favorite show. Small rewards motivate us more than we realize. Ask yourself, what little celebration would motivate you today? Life doesn't wait, and every moment counts. If you keep putting things off, you'll never reach what you dream of. But if you act today, even if it's the smallest step, you'll be building the life you want. Don't let yourself lose any more time. Remember, The only day we're guaranteed is today. Start now and experience the power of living fully in the present. 5. Say goodbye to perfection. My friend, I have to confess something. There was a time when striving for perfection was a bad habit that ruled my life, not just at work, but in everything I did. If I hosted a dinner at home, I'd spend hours making sure every detail was flawless. If I planned a trip, I'd go over everything 1,000 times to avoid any possible mistake. Even my house had to be perfectly tidy, with not a single thing out of place. And if something went wrong, the stress would eat me up inside. The result was that my body finally said enough. I ended up with health problems, exhausted and out of energy. But that's when I learned a valuable lesson. Perfection is a disguised enemy. It makes us believe that everything has to be impeccable before we can enjoy it, but all it does is paralyze us and steal our joy. I realized that true strength lies in accepting that mistakes and small flaws are part of the journey, because people connect with our humanity, not with our perfect appearances. Since then, I stopped chasing perfection and started living with more freedom and authenticity. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius said, "Stop wasting time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Marcus Aurelius didn't wait for the empire to be perfect before making decisions. He ruled through wars, plagues, and chaos. But he didn't freeze up. He acted with what he had, never letting the idea of perfect conditions hold him back. My friend, perfectionism isn't as glamorous as it seems. According to psychologist Patricia Resick, living trapped in the pursuit of perfection destroys us from the inside. Think about it. We set impossible standards, and when we inevitably fail to meet them, spoiler, we almost never do, we beat ourselves up with harsh self-criticism. The result? Anxiety, stress, and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction no matter what. It's no joke, right? It's like living with an internal critic who never shuts up, always reminding us that we're never good enough. Don't you think it's time to break free from that toxic habit? Imagine you're hosting a family dinner at home. You want everything to be perfect, delicious food, a spotless house, every detail just right. You spend hours cleaning, preparing. But that quest for perfection leaves you so stressed that you can hardly enjoy the time with your family. How can you eliminate that bad habit from your life? First, focus on what's essential. Ask yourself, what's the most important thing about this gathering? It's not having the table perfectly set or every dish being gourmet. The essence is sharing moments with the people you care about. In the end, your family remembers the conversations and the laughter, not whether the tablecloth was perfectly ironed. Second, take the imperfect first step. Yes, you heard me. Sometimes what we need is simply to start, even if the meal isn't worthy of a 5-star restaurant. Cook what you know well, and don't stress if it's not perfect. The key is that you're creating memories, not perfection. And third, learn to let go. After you've done your best, there comes a moment when you have to say, "This is enough." Enjoy the meal and the time with your family, even if things aren't flawless. Because in the end, what matters most is the time spent together, not everything being perfect. Believe me, letting go of that obsession is a relief and lets you focus on what truly matters: love and connection. Remember, my friend, better done than perfect. Move forward even if it's not perfect, because it's far better than staying stuck doing nothing. Get rid of this habit and discover the freedom that comes with accepting that not everything has to be flawless. True perfection lies in progress, and progress only happens when we take that first step. Just as we are, with what we have. 6. Unplug, reclaim your attention. Picture this. It's a quiet afternoon at home. You're sitting on the couch, ready to enjoy some time with your family. Your kids are playing nearby, or maybe your partner is sharing something about their day. But instead of being truly present, you pull out your phone. Just for a minute, you think. And so it begins. Scrolling, liking, watching stories you won't even remember later. It's like your attention is a kite on a string, drifting away from the present moment, while the people who matter most are right there. waiting for you to come back from the digital sky. 10, 20, 30 minutes pass, and by the time you realize it, those precious moments are gone, and you're still tethered to your phone, disconnected from the real world. Sound familiar? My friend, listen, I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad, but because I know how easy it is to fall into that trap. I know how addictive social media is, how perfectly designed it is to steal our time without us noticing. But the question is, how much longer are we going to keep feeding that habit? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, had it right. Life is like a play. It's not the length, but the performance that matters. And believe me, social media is a master at robbing us of our performance. It makes us present in body only, but not in mind or heart. I've been there too. And so you don't repeat my mistake, let me tell you. Once we were at a family meal, and as usual, I was glued to my phone. I was so absorbed in answering emails and checking social media that I wasn't paying attention to what was happening around me. Suddenly, a loud noise and the cry of my child jolted me back to reality. He had fallen, and though it wasn't serious, the scare hit me hard. I felt guilty, full of regret for being so disconnected, so absent. I realized that while I was lost in the digital world, I had missed something important in the real one. That was the wake-up call I needed to make a change. So, what can we do to reconnect with what really matters and break this harmful habit of being absent? Here are 3 practical tips. First, create tech-free zones. It can be as simple as deciding that there will be no phones at the dinner table. Ask yourself, how many conversations have we missed because we were looking at a screen? If we're with family or friends, the phone can wait. This way, we create a space where real connection takes priority. Second, use airplane mode strategically. Before bed, put your phone in airplane mode and don't touch it until after your morning routine. It's a simple but effective trick. This way, you start and end your day in peace, without a flood of notifications invading your mind first thing. Trust me, you'll feel more in control and less scattered. And third, schedule screen-free time. Yes, put it on your calendar, just like you would for an important meeting. Dedicate time to read a book, exercise, or simply be present with your loved ones. For example, block off an hour in the evening to take a walk or read. You'll see how refreshing it is to disconnect from the virtual world and reconnect with real life. So, my friend, eliminate it now, that habit of being disconnected from what truly matters. Reconnect with the present and the people around you, because those moments are what make life truly worthwhile. 7. Less stuff, more freedom. We have this habit of accumulating and accumulating. Picture all your belongings as heavy anchors tied to your ship. Drawers full of clothes you never wear are anchors that keep you from setting sail. Shelves crammed with books you never read are weights holding you back. Those boxes of forgotten memories are chains that keep you tied to the past. You live surrounded by so many things that your ship gets stuck, unable to move forward. My friend, if you want to stop feeling weighed down and start moving toward a lighter life, you have to release these anchors and set your ship free. But don't get me wrong. It's not about living with nothing, but about getting rid of what doesn't add value to your life, of what ties you down instead of setting you free. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Instead of chasing more and more, the Stoics prioritized the essential. Imagine Epictetus in his simple home without luxuries, but with an inner peace most of us can only dream of. His freedom didn't come from what he owned, but from what he had let go of. A perfect example of this is Dave Bruno, the creator of the 100 Thing Challenge. He decided to live with only 100 belongings. At first it sounded crazy. Imagine having to reduce everything you own to just 100 items. What did Dave do? He sat down, made an inventory of everything he had, and began to get rid of what didn't add value to his life. He donated clothes he never wore, sold gadgets collecting dust, and let go of things he never really needed. In the end, he was left with only the essentials, what he truly needed and what brought him joy. The result? His mind felt clearer, the stress of clutter vanished, and he felt freer than ever. And you? Do you want to get rid of everything unnecessary in your life and achieve that mental freedom? First, start with a small area. It could be a drawer, a closet, or your desk. If it's a drawer, you'll probably find a mountain of stuff. Old cables, pens that don't write, papers you don't even remember why you kept. It's overwhelming, right? Take a moment to ask yourself, is this necessary, or is it just taking up space? If you don't use it or it doesn't make you feel good, it's time to let it go. Trust me, each item you eliminate is one less weight on your mind. Second, set a 1 in, 2 out rule. For every new item you bring into your life, get rid of 2 old ones. Let's say you buy a new shirt. Before you put it away, pick 2 shirts you no longer wear and donate or recycle them. This simple rule makes you think twice before accumulating unnecessary things and keeps your space balanced. What do you think? Will you try it out? Share it in the comments, and with the support of the community, it'll be easier for you. Remember, my friend, less stuff, more freedom. Get rid of what you don't need and create space for what truly matters. Stop mindless accumulation, and you'll discover a lighter, fuller life with the peace that only the essential can bring. Start now and sow the seeds of freedom in your life. 8. Eliminate constant doubt. Dare to decide. How many times have you wanted to make a decision, but the fear of getting it wrong held you back? That moment when you doubt yourself, your mind swirling with questions. What if I regret it? What if it's not the right choice? It's like standing at a crossroads in a thick fog, unable to see what lies ahead. My friend, that fear isn't just an obstacle. It's a harmful habit that ties us to inaction. Why? Because by not deciding, we're choosing to let life pass us by, like spectators of our own story, watching others move forward while we stay stuck, doubting. Listen, standing still out of fear of making a decision comes at a high cost. Every time you hesitate and let an opportunity slip away, you're choosing to let life move on without you. Opportunities don't wait, and when we let them go, they might not come back. Insecurity keeps us trapped, preventing us from moving forward, and that only leads to a life full of regrets. Believe me, there are times when we have to dare to decide, even if we don't have all the answers. Because, let's face it, we never will. Psychologist Patricia Ramirez explains it clearly. The fear of making mistakes is like a backpack full of rocks we carry everywhere. It drains us, slows us down, and keeps us from enjoying the journey. She tells us that eliminating this habit is essential for moving forward. How? By giving ourselves permission to fail, because mistakes aren't failures. They're lessons. Do you see? Clinging to fear only keeps us stuck while life continues on. But Marcus Aurelius said it best. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Think about that for a second. If we fill our minds with doubts and fears, our happiness becomes a mirage, always out of reach. Marcus Aurelius believed in acting with wisdom, but without being paralyzed by fear. Imagine how he would act, calmly assessing what he could control and letting go of what he couldn't. Now, I ask you, what about you? Do you focus on what could go wrong, or do you take the step with what you know now? Picture this. You have the chance to take a trip that could change your life. A journey where you might discover new passions, make unexpected connections, or simply find a new version of yourself. But there's a problem. Your bad habit of indecision. You spend days thinking about everything that could go wrong. What if it's not the right time? What if things don't turn out as I hope? You get stuck in that cycle, doubting, as the deadline to accept the opportunity approaches. And just like that, the trip, that great adventure that could open up a whole new world, starts to slip away. All because fear and indecision have you paralyzed. But what if you could eliminate the fear and insecurity? Don't know how to do that? Don't worry, I'm going to give you 3 steps to help you break free. First, make friends with mistakes. Instead of seeing them as enemies, embrace them as part of the process. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I make a mistake? Most of the time, the consequences aren't as serious as we imagine. Make a list of the things you've learned from your past mistakes. You'll see that every failure made you stronger. Second, decide quickly on the small things and thoughtfully on the big ones. Practice making quick decisions on simple things, like what to eat or which book to read. This trains your mind to act without fear. For important decisions, set a reasonable time limit. Don't get stuck thinking forever. For example, if you have to choose between 2 job offers, give yourself a week to weigh the pros and cons, then make a choice. And third, visualize the worst and best case scenarios. Take a moment to imagine the worst that could happen and how you'd handle it. Then, picture the best possible outcome. This gives you perspective. Sometimes, we just need to see that we're more prepared than we think. What would you do if you weren't afraid? And now, since we're being honest, let me share the mantra that guides my life. If you're scared, do it scared. Engrave it in your mind and remember it the next time you're about to fall into your cycle of indecision. Because every decision you make is a step toward the life you want. 9. Free yourself from heavy energies. Have you heard of Stephanie Joshi? She's an Ironman athlete with a giant dream to complete one of the world's toughest challenges. Every morning she'd rise before the sun to train, facing miles of running, swimming, and cycling. But not everything was as inspiring as it sounds. Someone in her circle kept filling her with doubts. Do you really think you can do it? It's crazy, Steph. You're not built for this. Those words began to seep in deep. The confidence she had worked so hard to build crumbled, and during one training session, she couldn't take it anymore. She quit. For an entire week, Steph was caught in a wave of sadness, doubting herself. Should she keep going or give up? That negative energy had hit her hard, almost making her abandon her dream. Imagine how tough it was for her to wake up each day with the shadow of those words hanging over her. But one day, something changed. She looked in the mirror and decided she couldn't let someone else have so much power over her. Despite the criticism, she chose to keep pushing forward. She wouldn't let that toxic energy dictate her future. And so she returned to training, more determined than ever. In the end, Steph became an Ironman. She crossed that finish line and felt the triumph of achieving the impossible. And here's the lesson, my friend. If she had listened to that toxic relationship, she would have missed out on that moment, that feeling of fulfilling her dream. Think about it. How many times do we let negative energy hold us back? How many times do we give up because someone makes us doubt ourselves? The moral of Steph's story is clear. Draining relationships don't just steal our joy. They can rob us of the chance to live our dreams. It sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. What do you think Seneca would have done in Steph's situation? The great Stoic philosopher understood that our environment is key to maintaining inner peace and strength. Seneca taught that we must distance ourselves from what steals our tranquility, because living surrounded by negative energy is like trying to swim with rocks tied to our feet. Moving forward becomes impossible. And that's exactly what happens when we let toxic people or destructive comments weigh us down. Now think about this. Imagine you have a dream that fills you with excitement, but every time you share your enthusiasm, someone makes you feel like it's a waste of time. You think you can do that? They say, and those words start to lodge in your mind. Days pass, and you begin to doubt yourself, feeling like maybe it's not worth it. That heavy energy doesn't just wear you out, it slowly robs you of the drive to keep going. So, how can you free yourself from this energy and protect your space? First, set clear boundaries. Don't be afraid to protect your well-being. If someone in your life is a constant source of negativity, it's time to have an honest conversation. You don't have to be harsh or confrontational, but you do need to be firm. For example, you could say, "I'd rather not talk about my projects if you can't support me." This not only protects your energy, but also gives you the space to breathe and focus on what makes you happy. Second, fill your mind with positive things. Just as we watch what we eat to stay healthy, we should also be mindful of what we let into our minds. Surround yourself with inspiration, books, podcasts, people who motivate you to be better. Did you know that changing just one habit, like reading something uplifting every morning, can transform your attitude for the whole day? Start with something simple, and you'll see how that positive energy multiplies. At the end of the day, my friend, you have the power to choose who and what you give space to in your life. Heavy energies keep you tied to the ground, while positivity gives you wings. Eliminate the habit of getting stuck in negativity. Dare to free yourself and create an environment that propels you forward. 10. When your emotions control you. Have you ever felt like your emotions have taken over, as if your mind were a ship without a rudder, caught in the middle of a storm? You're not alone. We've all been there, trapped in that feeling of not being in control of our reactions. And my friend, when we let unchecked emotions rule our lives, we end up drifting further away from what we truly want. Think about it. Not having our mind at the helm is like letting a frightened passenger drive our car. We're bound to crash. Living without managing our emotions comes at a high cost. Mark Brackett, an expert in emotional intelligence, explains that the lack of emotional control not only affects our mental health but also our relationships and decisions. How many times have we said something we later regretted because we were angry or anxious? Brackett urges us to ask, what if we could change that? Because being ruled by emotions leaves us exhausted and lost, as if we're swimming against the current and getting nowhere. Now, imagine this. You're stuck in traffic, and someone cuts you off without signaling. Your blood starts to boil, and before you know it, you're shouting things your mother wouldn't be proud to hear. Or worse, you grab your phone and furiously type out a rant to your friends about how messed up everything is. What do you think Marcus Aurelius would do in this situation? Do you think he'd rush to send a messenger pigeon? It's funny to picture, isn't it? A Roman emperor sitting in his war chariot, taking a deep breath and thinking, "This is beyond my control, breathe and move on." For him, emotional control was the key to living peacefully, even in the modern chaos we experience today. Want to know how you can change this habit and take control of your own rudder? Then follow these tips. First, breathe before you act. It sounds simple, but it works. When you feel a strong emotion taking over, pause and take 3 deep breaths. This gives your mind the time it needs to process the situation without reacting impulsively. For instance, the next time you feel yourself about to explode in anger, try this. You'll be amazed at how a few seconds of pause can change everything. Second, identify the emotion. Name it. Is it frustration, fear, sadness? Mark Brackett suggests that labeling our feelings gives us power over them. Saying, "I'm frustrated because I'm not being heard," allows you to handle the situation more rationally. Make this a daily habit. Ask yourself how you're feeling and why. This simple exercise will give you more control over your reactions. And third, reframe your thinking. Instead of saying, "Everything is going wrong," try something more constructive. "This is tough, but I can find a solution." Marcus Aurelius believed in changing our perspective to manage life wisely. Practicing this every day can transform how you respond to challenges. Remember, my friend, if you don't learn to manage your emotions and let them control you, life will take you down paths you don't want to follow. It's time to eliminate the bad habit of letting emotions rule your day. Take the helm right now and regain control. I invite you to break free from the habits that keep you trapped. Let every decision, every action, bring you closer to the person you want to become. Remember, it's not about being perfect, but about making progress, leaving behind distractions, insecurities, and the energies that weigh you down. Live intentionally, take control of your emotions, and eliminate what's holding you back from growing. Only then will you discover the freedom of living in harmony with yourself and with what truly matters. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today I change my life." That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.